Hello everyone, I have 3 cards that I want to share using the scrapbook.com exclusive high fall stamp set. In addition to that, I want to use the exclusive collaboration between Brutus Monroe and scrapbook.com with the sticky mat. The purchase of the sticky mat this month for October is going to be donations towards the Hair Peace Charities, which helps women and girls who live in Western Pennsylvania with financial assistance to purchase a wig after hair loss due to cancer. So as you can see, you not only get the sticky mat, but you also get a stencil. And what I love about the sticky mat is it will fit into the standard size MISTI. I think this is such an awesome thing that Brutus Monroe and scrapbook.com are doing, that I have another brand new set that I want to do a giveaway. So any comments left on this video or on Instagram, I will choose a winner and then I will get that out to you. So here I will go ahead and start playing with this mat. It was a little bit of a learning curve to me because it really is sticky. But once I got into the flow of it, watched a little bit of the videos of how they use it on scrapbook.com, I was like, okay, this is a really cool idea because your paper and your stencil are stuck down to the mat. It's not going to go anywhere. I decided to keep most of these projects pretty simple. So I'm using 3 different colors of the Distress Oxide ink in Fossilized Amber, Gathered Twigs, which is in the center, and Candied Apple. Now, for the most part, I am using the scrapbook.com blending tool, but I'm using the Tim Holtz little brush to get just a little bit more detail of the little smaller stenciled area right there with the fossiled amber. Now, this is the trick that I learned. Roll the paper off, and then you won't get any problems on your mat, and then you just wipe it with a wet paper towel, and then that's really it, and just let it dry. But as I do this, I keep forgetting that it fits in my MISTI. So I did not need to take it off. I could just slip it right into my MISTI after I stenciled on it and then just go ahead and stamp my sentiment. Like I said, I'm keeping these simple, so I want to keep the colors pretty much the same throughout. So for the sentiment, using the high fall stamp set, I'm using the Gathered Twigs for the large high, and then I'm using the Fossiled Amber for the smaller sentiment that says, "Hi, sweet friend." I think that was the biggest learning curve. So now I can take this off of the mat. It's just to know that once I'm finished with using it as a stencil, I can go ahead and just pop it right into the MISTI. So I'm using some scrapbook.com Nina White blank cards, and I'm using the Harvest Smooth cardstock to back this and give it a little bit more pop. My card panel is 4 by 5 1/4. So as I'm using my trimmer, I'm just going about 1/8 of an inch less so that I can see this card panel, and I can also see the card behind it. I just like to see a little bit of the color behind it. So then I'm just going to add a little bit of double-sided tape and adhere this too. So you can see that my card did curl a little bit. When your sticky mat's new, I think that might happen. So the double-sided tape is really going to help with that. So I just finished that off with a red color of the Pops of Color. I really have a lot of ideas of ways to use this stencil. But like I said, I'm kind of keeping these pretty simple. But I did want to play around with the brand new Tim Holtz watercolor pencils. So I'm using a watercolor paper as my background, and I misted it with a Distress water bottle. And then I'm coloring right on top with the pencils. And when you do that, you will see some of the marks from the paper and the pencils. And I really did like that look. So I continue to apply the pencil onto the wet watercolor paper. And then later I'll come back and for each color, I use the Tim Holtz watercolor brush pen to just kind of smooth and blend that out a little bit. I didn't want to completely cover in the whole petals here with the red, just similar to what I did with the first card. For this one, I want it to look like it's watercolor. On the first card, it almost has that little kind of sprayed on effect look. I love that look when you blend in the oxide inks. And know that anytime you're using a stencil and water, you're going to get some of it underneath the stencil. and I knew that going in, so I was okay with that. I want it to be very watercolory looking. So I want to add some more color here. So I picked another pencil in walnut stain that would be darker than the colors that I've already used. The colors are the same. It's fossilized amber and candied apple, except the brown in the watercolor pencil is vintage photo. Now you could see that all I did was continue to add water with either the watercolor brush pen or the Distress water bottle. I just continued to add more water to it, and I did grab a bigger paintbrush so that I could get some splatters onto this. I used my heat gun to get it dry enough, and then I'm going to go ahead and stamp my sentiment. I decided to do a little bit of an ombre effect with the candied apple and gathered twigs by inking up part of it with each one of those colors and then stamping it, and I really love the effect of it. For the small sentiment, happy above fall, I just used archival ink in vintage photo. And then I decided to also grab I decided on the yellow color from the Harvest Fall Smooth cardstock. I thought that would be pretty with this. So that'll finish that. I did add again some of the pops of color. When I usually create cards like this, I try to keep them similar in colors and products, but I like to mix up the techniques and do different things with them. I find that once you finish with one idea, it usually sparks another idea. So I think it's a really cool way to get on a creative roll by using the, similar colors, but just changing up the technique a little bit. I decided to do this next technique, which I love. I had recently, well, it's been a while ago now, but I've done it a few times on scrapbook layouts, and I decided to give this a try. I used the script font for the fall and then the regular, just basic font for fall, and the smaller, it's very small. So I'm stamping in the Vintage Photo archival ink on top of that. And then my idea is to go in with the very same inks that I used on the first card and blend those in. The only difference with the blending in is I didn't want, well, actually, no, I don't use the red color. I keep this yellow, so I did want to change that up just a little bit. I pulled out the scattered straw in a lighter yellow. But the other difference besides the color is I want this to be bold. So I really make sure to blend out the petals all the way to the end, because as I lift up the stencil, I really, really love the look of the words, mixed in or underneath the stencil, and then the ink on top of it. It's such a pretty look. I decide on the Sentiment Wonderful to put right in the middle. I'm going to use that vintage, no, I'm sorry, I think I used the black soot for this. The reason for that is because I really want it to stand out against the gathered twigs that's in the center of the flower. I stamped it quite a few times just to make sure it was nice and bold. And then to finish this, to give it a little bit more of a standout against the background, I used glossy accents to write across the Wonderful. And then to finish it, I just used some more of the Rudolph Red and the pops of color. And that finishes this trio of cards. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Please subscribe, leave a comment here and on Instagram, and I'll be picking a winner to send your sticky mat and stencil out to you. Thanks so much.